O'Reilly. Es el mes de la batería Superstart en O'Reilly Auto Parts. Recibe hasta $25 en una tarjeta de regalo después del reembolso al comprar una batería seleccionada Superstart. Podemos probar tu batería gratis y si necesitas una nueva, te ayudamos a encontrar la batería correcta. Superstart, solo en O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The only blue tick I need is a vote for a Conservative candidate. I'm Harriet Langley-Swindon, and this is Non-Censored. Hello and welcome to Non-Censored, the podcast that picks out the highlights of my very popular radio show. I'm, as always, joined by Producer Martin. It was great, wasn't it, this week, Producer Martin? What did you think?
Oh, yes, absolutely. A lot to talk about, both online and offline. I think we cover all stops in this one-stop shop podcast.
Yeah, we really did. I mean, there was a few things that we couldn't fit into the podcast. Sadly, we did have a Wokie protester from Just Stop Oil, but I think he got caught in traffic, didn't he, Martin? He never made it here.
Yeah, it was a sort of a sad irony there. Although, I mean, hopefully they'll be quite happy about that, I suppose, in a way.
We also had an interview with David Williams. I really want to apologise to our listeners of the radio show for that. It wasn't supposed to be aired. And on behalf of David, I'd like to apologise to all the people that he talked about.
Well, I don't think you need to apologise to I mean, he probably needs to apologise to some people, but that's...
I mean, as some people, it was quite a few, wasn't it? It's quite a large.
Yeah, I mean, we're not responsible.
I mean, it was also almost like a shopping list, wasn't it? I thought, no, David, we don't need to hear all of this. But he just carried on. But you know, the listeners, we can all accept that it was all just locker room banter. So there we go.
Yeah, it'll probably end up in his next best-selling children's book. So look forward to that.
Lovely! Oh, lovely! What a lovely man. Anyway. First this week, we spoke to Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer. First time on the show for him, wasn't it, Martin?
Oh, absolutely. And he was doing his best to make sure that I think everyone felt quite at home.
So, Keir Starmer, first time on the show. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Let's start. In PMQs this week, you said that Rishi Sunak was too weak to stand up to a pathetic bully.
Yes.
Strong words. To clarify for the listeners, the pathetic bully is Gavin Williamson.
Gavin Williamson.
Yes.
Said some awful things, truly awful things. That speech was going to be longer. I listed a lot of things Rishi Sunak was too weak to do. And I was going to go on to provide more. I could give you some of those now.
Yes, we'd love to hear that.
I've put here, too weak to pick up a heavy dog.
Wow.
He strikes me as the kind of person who's too weak to pick up a heavy dog. You know, one of those... and then in brackets underneath, I put too weak to pick up a light dog.
Oh, my goodness.
I wasn't sure whether to go that far.
That's the double sting, isn't it?
It's very harsh, though. I mean, it sounds like you're the one bullying, to be honest with you, with this sort of language.
I don't agree with that. I think there's a difference between bullying and saying things that are true. I've put here, too weak to swing a sack of oranges round and round his head. I think that's true.
No, to be fair, I do think that is true. I don't think Rishi would be able to do that.
Have you seen him do it?
No, I've never seen him do it. No.
But I could do it.
Could you do that?
Every day. Yeah, I can't do it now. I haven't got one with me.
No.
I could come back on next week and swing a sack of oranges round, lift up a border collie.
A border collie?
Check our diary and see if we... I think it wouldn't lose voters.
Perfect. Well, I'll do it. I'll come back. Anything that gets people voting Labour and moving away from this terrible Conservative government.
But, Keir,
Weak bullies. And that's the worst thing you want. If you're going to be a bully, then at least be strong about it.
You're not really one to talk, are you? Because you loved Jeremy Corbyn.
Who?
You love Jeremy Corbyn. You can't accuse them of poor judgment with Gavin Williamson when you supported Jeremy Corbyn.
I don't know who you're talking about. I've never heard of that man in my life.
He ruined the country.
I think you've had a dream. I think maybe you had a dream there.
I would never dream about Jeremy Corbyn. It just wouldn't happen.
There is no MP for Islington North.
Right.
Islington North doesn't exist.
Let's move on. Now, earlier in the week, you said that there would be fewer migrant nurses. So can you promise, can you explore on that? Are you promising to be tough on immigration like we need people to be, like Rishi and best lawyer in the world, Suella Braverman, are being so?
No, I never said there'd be fewer immigrant nurses.
Mm-hmm.
I said there should be more nurses that are not immigrants, which I think is different.
Right.
Isn't it?
Is it?
Well, we definitely want more nurses.
Yes, we want more nurses.
And as for where they come from, let's say Britain.
Right.
But I think that's okay. I think that appeals to a wide. We could all agree we love nurses.
Yes.
We do love nurses.
We do love
Yeah,
nurses. Yes. We love the NHS. We love the nurses.
So more of those.
I've got to say, it sounds like you're really focusing on trying to secure the vote from the so-called floating voters. I myself happen to be a part of that demographic. What
are you?
I mean,
he's very floaty.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, I didn't know there was one here. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. What? You're undecided. You're undecided.
Well, I have.
It's undecided about everything.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know there was going to be one here.
No, it's all right.
I need to take a mint.
Please.
I need a mint.
You don't need a mint. It's a remote recording podcast. So
lovely to meet you.
Yeah,
your hair's looking great.
That's very kind. Is this wooing? Are you wooing me?
It's you wooing Martin.
What's your PayPal? What are your PayPal details?
You're going to send me money?
No, I'm not.
I mean, I can sit.
I just think you're doing a fantastic job on this podcast. And I, for one, would like to tip you. It's not a bribe.
Oh.
It's a tip.
Sorry. Are you trying to bribe producer Martin live on air?
I just think he does a wonderful job.
Right.
You're not a floating.
I don't believe that statement. That statement to me sounds like playing politics. No one would actually say that with a straight face.
Never played politics in my life. Lost the rules. I lost the counters from the box.
Was that a joke?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Right. I think it's good. I mean, the more you try them, the more like jokes they will become.
Should I have said dice? I lost the dice.
Okay. I think we have enough of that. Yes. Let's move on to that. Now, climate protesters. Can we talk about these guys? Because they're throwing paint over artwork. They're stopping people from going to school, to work, to hospitals. Yes. Are you going to prosecute them?
Yes, of course.
You are?
Yes, simple as that. I'm a prosecutor. That's my job. I'm a prosecutor.
Because I'm not sure that's the line you've always taken, Sir Keir.
No, not always, but it is the one I've decided I'm doing at the moment. Tomorrow I may feel differently. But at the moment, lock them up. I say, chop off their heads. Wow.
And I don't think you're old. Can I just say?
Can you cut the bit where I said chop off their heads?
Well, I'm producer Martin's in charge of the edits.
Okay.
It seems quite newsworthy, though.
Yes, this could get us quite a lot of traction if you said cut off the protesters' heads. We do have to keep that into account.
I didn't say that. I said those words separately and you edited them together.
Because I think people would get very upset with what you've just said. And in fact, your old friend, Jeremy Corbyn, he would be shocked, wouldn't he?
Don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Never
Jeremy
heard of
Corbyn.
that man in my life.
Former head of Labour.
Not a clue. You seem to have gone mad again. Right. You seem to have gone back into your delusion. All
right, Keir, let me ask you this. How are you going to bring down interest rates?
Interest rates, yes. Okay.
That's right.
I believe, let me just check my notes. Yes, I believe that I haven't yet been briefed on that. Okay. I don't have a line on that. So what I can tell you is that there will be
brief overview?
Yes, there will be a response. There will be a response.
When will that response be? Now? 2 minutes?
In the future.
In the future.
In the future. There will be a response on that point. It will be a very strong, clear plan to bring down interest rates in a way that is that makes everybody happy.
Wonderful. Sir Keir, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, everybody is talking about the World Cup, aren't they, Martin? Everybody.
Oh, absolutely. It's the beautiful game. And it's just around the corner.
Yes, it's very close. And then we'll just hear more and more about that little game. On the show, we had Ian Five Ankles. You'll all know him for his wonderful show, The Sports Horn Breakfast Show. And he talked us through all things World Cup and some of the controversies surrounding Qatar. Ian Five Ankles, you're going to the World Cup.
Yeah, super excited to be going to Qatar and watching all those professional footballers run about in that desert heat.
Yeah, kick a ball around, yada, yada, yada. Everyone knows how football works. But I did want to talk...
Do they? It's an art form, but yeah, carry on.
Is it an art form?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, right. Well, anyone who's a fan of you will know that you tweeted quite a lot about Qatar and the human rights abuses and things like that. But you are now going to work for them. So what's the U-turn about?
Well, I mean, I don't want to quibble over numbers, but it turns out that The Guardian were wrong to say that 6,500 people had died. Actually, the number is closer to 36, if you listen to the Qataris, who I think they should know because they're there. But to answer your question, I think Brazil, as the top-ranked team, stand the best chance of winning. I wouldn't be beyond putting money on France, and I think Poland are a good outside bet.
Right, but going back to Qatar, so you say that there's been some quibbling about numbers of exactly how many people have died. Yes. Yeah,
to the tune of 1,000 times. There's a big difference between 6,500 and 35. I mean, 35 people probably die working in a bank in England, don't they? I mean,
right.
If you trip up at your desk and you bang your head on the corner of the desk, what's to say that's not going to kill you?
Or you could choke on a
working
coin.
Is dangerous. Absolutely, yeah. And where do the Qataris live? They live in Qatar. Where do these deaths occur? Qatar.
I've just got to say that a lot of these figures actually came from the embassies of the countries of the people that died over there. The Indian embassy reported around 900 deaths in the run up to the World Cup. Is that? I mean, is that going to be a problem? Should that be a problem for the people being involved?
What I would say is I am a football man. Has the person who issued those statistics ever played the game? If they haven't, then why are they commenting on football?
Right.
I mean, you get your Graham Souness's, your Roy Keanes of this world. They've played the game. They can say what they like about football. They've earned it. I played the game. I was LDV Van's trophy most improved player for 3 years running in the late 90s.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
That speaks for itself. That qualifies me to talk about football.
Could you at least then tell us that perhaps is the beautiful game less beautiful when 6,500 people die in order for it to be played?
Look, the beautiful game has been dragged through the mud, or they have tried to drag it through the mud, and it still remains beautiful. Football brings people together. It is a cause for celebration. I mean, in this particular World Cup, not if you're gay. That's maybe we can get onto that, but it brings people together, and if a few bits of human rights have to be glossed over, if some people died, is that enough to stop the rest of the world enjoying a bloody good tournament?
Ian, I see what you're saying here. You're saying when you have the art form of people kicking around their little ball, you need to make some sacrifices, and that sometimes is deaths or human rights, or the right to completely change your opinion when you're getting paid.
Well, you've raised a good point there, Harriet. I think that's. Thank you for raising that, because I did point the finger. I stood up. I was counted, and then when the Qataris offered me a chance to work from their tournament from inside Qatar, of course I took their money. Of course I did. I mean, these figures are eye-watering that they're offering me. That gives me a chance to highlight these injustices from inside, doesn't it? What better place to shout about throwing stones than inside the greenhouse. I can throw those stones now and hopefully break some windows.
So would you advocate this to other people whenever they're sort of angry about something or they're attacking something, that really the best way to attack that institution is to accept their money and work for them?
Yes, but
right.
Also no.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
It is quite interesting. I suppose if we had some Just Stop Oil activists actually become senior executives at Shell or BP, that would, it would make an impact. Or indeed, if they became, very famous Renaissance artists. And then,
or Martin, we could get one of those little wokey, children to come and work here. Get one as your runner.
Ooh, to bring down this behemoth. Well, I suppose that is.
You could. Everyone has a price. Would we say, Ian?
What I would say about Just Stop Oil is, I like a good cause every now and again, but they are scum. They have. Disrupted my journey to my recording studio on my daily breakfast show, which is incidentally the third most talked about sports radio breakfast show in Southeast Kent.
Of course, yeah.
So, everyone loves a good cause. I'm all for saving the planet, but they are scum. Just let people drive their cars.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And people who care about sort of the rights of women, LGBTQ community, migrant workers, democracy.
Can I just say to the LGBTQ plus, I love a bit of flamboyance as much as the next person, but you've got to respect their laws when you're there. Take how gay you may or may not be in the UK, okay, and at least halve it if you're over there.
Ian, sorry, is
try
this
being heterosexual? Try just treat it as an adventure. Just pretend to be heterosexual for like a spy undercover, and it'll be fun.
I agree with that. I'm a bit confused though. Is this you throwing stones from within?
Is it? Yes.
Yes.
I've sort of lost track of the analogy that I see this as me being outside throwing them in, but then perhaps bouncing off the windows. I don't know what I'm doing with these stones. I'm going to put the stones down.
Ian, quick question for you. Obviously, we all like to think that it's coming home. The question that I have is the it in that equation, homophobia and fascism. What do you think?
Well, I will say that if Gareth Southgate insists on playing three at the back with Walker as a kind of confused, am I a right back, am I a centre back, I think that's going to lead to problems. I think we need to stick to four at the back and then maybe experiment in midfield is what I would say to that. And then, if football comes home, are we really going to still keep blathering on about human rights abuses and homophobia this, homophobia that? We've just won the World Cup. Just celebrate it. Lay your hair down.
Well, also, then you could probably go back, Ian, to blathering about the human rights that you were blathering about before you accepted the job.
Well, I have signed a 5-year deal, so...
Okay, right. So no talking about human rights yet. Thank you so much, Ian. I too hope that football is coming...
back
home. Yes.
And I hope all the little football fans have a lovely time in Qatar, and please don't be too gay and wear some sunscreen. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
So we were joined as always by Eshaan Akbar, who, as you all know, is our senior North American correspondent.
Absolutely.
Very interesting chat.
Always has been, always will be. I think that's always been his specialism, hasn't it?
And you were very keen for him to take that American job, weren't you, Martin?
Oh, yeah. Well, I just thought maybe getting out of the country, being away from our country would be good for him. Enjoyable. Get out. Little holiday, isn't it? Meet some new people.
Yes, indeed. So we are joined by our senior North American expert, Eshaan Akbar. Eshaan, welcome back to the show.
Well, howdy, Harriet. How are you doing?
What?
Oh.
Sorry, I've just spent a lot of time with a lot of Republicans. I'm just, I get influenced very easily. Hey, I'm walking over here.
I suppose you are an expert about all things
good.
American now.
Thank you. It's the way I kind of learn about what's happening by integrating and infiltrating the groups.
Okay, well done to that. Now, we're speaking to you, Eshaan, because it's the midterm elections. And, of course, we needed to speak to an expert. And you are an expert on this.
I am.
So talk us through what's going on.
Okay, so we'll give you a bit of background as to what happens in the US midterm elections. These votes are held every 2 years, and they fall in the middle of the president's 4-year term of office. And the elections are for Congress, which is made up of two parts, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Now, Congress, they make nationwide laws, and the House decides which laws are voted on, while the Senate can block or approve them. Each state has 2 senators who sit for 6-year terms. Representatives serve for 2 years and represent smaller districts. And all the seats in the House of Representatives are up for election alongside 1/3 of the Senate. Simple, huh?
But how does that compare to, say, France or Germany?
Well, I'm not in France or Germany. If you want me to find out about that, you need to send me there, don't you?
Well, our budget can only extend so far, Eshaan.
So, Eshaan, I do have a question about all this. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot hanging on the results of the midterms. What does it say about the next presidential election? Are we seeing indicators as to whether they're going to go red rather than blue, whether Joe Biden's going to get another term?
Well, a lot of people have been surprised by the results because ahead of the election, people were thinking, the economy is in dire straits. Joe Biden is always asleep. I think it's high time that the Republicans come in and add a bit of semblance of normality to the situation. But
yes, they're very normal.
Exactly. And the analysts have said, well, hold on a minute. It turns out American people might not be so happy about the abortion laws in the US. So there seems to be this move away from what analysts thought were the big issues, the economy, Biden being awake, perhaps aren't as important as the right to choose.
Oh, so now it's gone down to sort of women's issues, which...
Oh, yeah, people like Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez just moaning and whinging, and eventually everyone was like, do you know what? Maybe if we vote for her, people will just stop moaning and whinging, for goodness sake. Such a headache.
Stop the moaning and whinging. Let's talk about the big issues, not, threats to life or whatever things like abortion brings. But, Eshaan, they have their own set of culture wars, don't they, in America? It's slightly different to ours. They are also dealing with the woke left, but a more radical, earnest woke left. It's a whole different beast. And this is, correct me if I'm wrong, because you are, of course, the expert, this is creeping into this election quite heavily.
Yeah, quite heavily. I mean, America is a newer country. They don't have any buildings famously more than 75 years old in the United States.
Wow.
Because it's such a new country.
True.
And so they're dealing with the issues that Britain dealt with, say 600 years ago, right?
Yes, they're like abortion, a little small child.
Whether or not you can kill black people indiscriminately.
You can't. I do want to make that clear to our listeners.
The kind of issues that Britain faced up to 600 or so years ago, this new country, America, over there are dealing with now. So those culture wars they're having might seem a bit foreign to you and I.
Eshaan, is this why they keep having such old men leading them? Because they are quite an infantile country and they need older, wiser men to sort of show them the way?
Well, what's happened is because they're such a new country, they still got these old laws from, when it used to be a British colony. In America, you're not actually allowed to stand for office until you are 67 years old.
Right.
Because back then, whoever survived to 67 obviously had more wisdom and strength.
Yes.
Because most people died by the age of 30.
Yeah. Yeah, they're sort of like the elders of the camp, the wise elders.
One American is equivalent to 2 old people.
I see.
I'm not sure these maths just don't necessarily add up. So we're looking for the strongest old man.
No, but Producer Martin, though, you're not the expert here. I mean, sorry to butt in, but I wouldn't. Let's not question Eshaan too much, because he is our North American expert.
Because Britain, here's the thing for British listeners, because Britain's so far ahead of the US, we're in a position where we can have a young brown man as our leader. Yes. Whereas America is still 600 years behind us, so they have to have an old white man as its leader.
Yeah.
Britain, of course, tried with having women as leaders, and we all
didn't work. We can't do it. Our little brains, we can't do it.
Just stop doing it.
Yes, I know. Stop it, women. No. Stick to hosting podcasts.
Thank you. And a few years ago, America flirted with the idea with Hillary Clinton, but it turns out they use emails too much, and it just can't.
No, and she was so bossy, wasn't she? Oh, goodness.
Oh, I'm not sure we should use that word.
It's cute what America are doing out there. We need to look upon them as, the younger sibling. They're still immature. They're still growing. They're still learning, going through the things that we went through as teenagers.
Yes.
Making all the mistakes that you did when you're a teenager out there having.
Oh, bless them. And it's good because it's not like they can really do any harm.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, they're fairly harmless, I mean, it's cute having midterms, isn't it? It's like, what, we're back at school, do you remember?
Yes, completely.
What, these mock exams?
Yes, oh dear. So let's just forward to the bit where Trump comes back. That's what we're all waiting for.
We all know what's going to happen.
An old orange man.
The old orange man. That's very good, Harriet. Oh, you're very funny.
Well, I do have my moment.
Eshaan, if I could just ask you one final question as well. I mean, what do you think this will mean for the Twitter accounts?
Well, really, all these elections are a bit of a distraction from where the real power lies. Because I don't know if you know,
right.
Elon Musk, he has the letters US in his name because he is the leader.
I don't know. He's acting like
to realise this.
No. Because of him, there is now currently 4 Harriet Langley-Swindons swimming around on Twitter, causing havoc. And they've all got their little blue ticks.
That is 4 too many.
That's too many.
Too many Harriet Langley-Swindons.
Well, certainly 3 too many, but yeah, no, you might be right there.
Definitely 4 too many.
Surprisingly, there's still 0 Producer Martins with a blue tick. There's no one's.
There's only one, Eshaan Akbar.
Now, our special guest this week was British geneticist and science populariser Adam Rutherford. We had a good old chinwag, and I think I won. Didn't I, Martin?
Well, you know what? A lot of people think that you don't have to win a conversation to have an enjoyable one, but yes, sure.
But this one I won.
Yeah. I mean, you absolutely won. I mean, what did he have apart from, facts?
Oh, God, they keep wheeling those out, don't they? No, not going to win. Sorry. Take your facts away and try another day.
Next time on a very spooky fine dining podcast, the season 1 finale, TGI Fridays the 13th. Oh, you betcha, pineapple's gonna hit the fan as Michael's son Juicy, or in this episode, Juice's son Voorhees, goes on a murderous rampage, and no one is safe. It gets real spooky, it gets real bloody, and not everyone's gonna make it to the end of the episode. Who will live, who will die? Listen to Fine Dining, the search for the most mediocre restaurant in America, break down a trip to TGI Fridays based on the atmosphere, the service, and the food, and try not to be scared to death. Hear the thrilling finale of Fine Dining, Wednesday, October 25th, wherever you get your podcasts.
Adam Rutherford, welcome to the show.
Nice to see you, Harriet.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Now, currently we have COP27 going on, so we really wanted to speak to someone who is a sort of a media scientist, really, a science popularizer, as I think you're known. Someone who is sciencey, but also good to speaking to the people, for the people. So thank you for coming on. I mean, I myself am an expert on opinions, so hopefully we can meet in the middle. But let's talk about climate change. You must know a bit about it, being a scientist. Isn't this just a lot of fuss about nothing? I mean, isn't this just the weather?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not an expert on climate change, but I have written about it and
That's
talked
okay,
about
we
it a
don't
lot.
like them. Yeah.
Sure. I'm a relative expert. I mean, I've spent a lot of time around scientists and climate scientists, so as far as expertise goes, I think I know a little bit.
Right.
And I think it's fair to say that climate change is probably the greatest threat facing humankind at any point in its history.
I think that's the woke left, actually, Adam.
There's a funny sort of overlap between left-leaning or liberal policies and actual reality. And science is quite good at sort of highlighting those sort of similarities. The Venn diagram of what climate change scientists says is based on evidence and what, as you frame it, the woke left want to do about climate change is those two things are quite well aligned.
Are you suggesting that science is woke?
No, I'm suggesting that woke is often quite sciencey. So,
right.
You know, climate change is very real and is a very real threat to our way of life and our continued existence. And the people who are most interested in attempting to address this existential threat to humankind are often left of centre.
Right.
Yeah.
I've got to say, Adam, this is producer Martin here. I just want to say I'm a big fan. I am a fan of experts. I think there is room for them. It's an unpopular opinion here sometimes. But I was reading that you were an advisor on a certain film, World War Z. Is this correct? Because I can see a correlation between the end times, you know, and what we're facing now. And I think, you know, well, I was wanting to ask, do you see any correlation?
What, a film based on a sort of viral threat, humanity goes utterly insane and begins to destroy the world.
The woke left.
Zombies.
Well, who's the woke left in World War Z? Is it the zombies?
Yes.
I think it's Brad Pitt.
Right.
No,
is it?
Martin, it's not Brad Pitt. Come on.
Well, wait, though. He is unemployed in that film and makes breakfast for his family and wears a scarf. So
that's horrible.
Aha!
That's very upsetting.
So you might be right about that, yeah. I did advise on that film. I did 2 days drawing graphs on whiteboards in a lab setting, and my entire contribution was cut from the final film. So the overall impact on that was minimal by me, but thank you for bringing that.
So
Martin.
really, World War Z, they'd had enough of experts as well.
They really had. Yeah. And in fact, I took the production designer around to a lab to show them what real labs were like, and the director looked at the pictures of the lab and said, yeah, that looks rubbish, let's just do it like this instead. So also had enough of experts.
Yeah.
That is disappointing.
You also like refugees, I believe. You're a scientist who likes refugees. So let's talk about climate refugees.
I don't remember ever saying that I liked refugees.
Well,
is that something that
you do books about people from different places. It's quite a sort of pro.
Oh, we see. Like you mean human evolution? I mean, the sort of the movement of people around the world for the last 500,000 years.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, that's slightly different from the sort of modern conception of refugees. It's more that people have migrated around the planet from our birthplace, the origin of our species in Africa. That has been a sort of constant in human evolution, has been the movement of people around the world.
We're sending them to Africa.
Yes, that appears to be the government's current policy. But what I'm saying is my time scale as an evolutionary biologist is a little bit longer. And so Homo sapiens, our species, is an African species. So we evolved in Africa and then from Africa migrated throughout the rest of the world.
Adam,
Yeah.
sorry, I know you're a scientist. For the listeners, I did an air quote there. But I mean, I have to sort of actually call bullshit on that, because no, I recently did one of those little tests. Me and my husband Jonathan did it, and there was no African DNA there. I was 1% Norwegian, 12% Polish, and the rest was all Anglo-Saxon. And my husband Jonathan was from New Jersey, 100%.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's quite a lot to unpick in what you just said. Shall I start with the concept of humankind being an African species is pretty well established in the scientific literature. We are.
Read that.
No, sure. But yes, our species evolved in Africa. So most of our evolution happened within the African continent. The oldest versions of Homo sapiens are from Northern Africa, and we've got many from Eastern Africa.
Sorry, are these facts or are these opinions? Because the two, I mean, they're different. They're different sometimes, aren't they?
They are. They're mostly different,
right?
In fact, but as a scientist, I'm really talking about actual bones, so fossils of people that exist in those places,
right? So
rather than
it's not my DNA that's from Africa, but my bones.
No, your bones are from wherever you're. What? Yeah,
I think this might be a losing battle, Alan, or perhaps longer than we have available. If we were to, perhaps we should have a regular science section where you can just explain things from a sort of key stage 1 level. Each week. That could be something that we.
Producer Martin, that's incredibly patronising.
I mean for everyone, but not just for you.
Try and mansplain over the host. Actually,
I wouldn't at all. I meant for me. I just enjoy science.
I'm just trying to counteract Adam's rather suspect, supposedly scientific evidence.
So when it comes to the DNA testing, though, that's quite interesting, because I'm pretty skeptical about the utility of those sorts of ancestry tests. And so, for example, 1% Norwegian is probably nothing at all. It's just noise. But 12% Polish, 12% is significant. That indicates that you've probably got a Polish ancestor within the last 3 generations. Yes.
No, that's not very
So in many ways, that sort of reinforces my own version of human history, which includes the migration of people from different countries in recent and ancient history. Do you know who that Polish ancestor of yours was?
No, I didn't know I had any. I mean, I don't know. I think my mother had a cleaner.
It's unlikely to have been that person, because it would be if that Polish man were your cleaner, that would be your father. And it would be 50% rather than 12%. So it's more likely to be
Once again, I think these key stage 1s, or just like entry level science, might be a fun thing for us all.
My father was a good Anglo-Saxon man.
Well, so here's another thing. Anglo-Saxon isn't really a real type of. It isn't really a real population.
Yes, it is. They defeated the Vikings.
Yeah, no, see, that's not quite correct. So historians and now geneticists as well have established that there isn't really a group of people known as Anglo-Saxons. There were the Angles and there were the Saxes, and there were hundreds of other tribal groups during the pre-Middle Ages that migrated into Britain from the continent and all around. And in fact, there was an entire population replacement of the British people from Spain that occurred about 4,000 years ago. But no, the Anglo-Saxons isn't really a thing. It's really a construction of the Victorians, who were trying to promote ideas of white supremacy as they continued to attempt to dominate the globe.
Oh, now, white supremacy. Obviously not a fan, don't think it's very good. But your new book, you talk about the dark history and troubling presence of eugenics. It's called Control. Is it out now? People can order it?
They can, yes, it is out now, yeah.
So obviously the Nazis, they were a fan of eugenics. Now, I'm not saying I'm not. But you say the dark history and troubling present. I mean, what's there's no problem with it now, is there? What's that about?
Well, the legacy of eugenics continues to live on with us today, but particularly in America, where enforced sterilization still occurs in immigration detention centers as recently as last year.
No, sorry, here we're talking about the immigrants again. It is a theme of the history of science, unfortunately. But you know who was one of the biggest advocates for eugenics in British history in the United Kingdom was Winston Churchill. So he campaigned a lot for sterilisation of the feeble-minded. No, you can't say that about Winston Churchill. We won't have anything against Winston Churchill on this show, I'm afraid.
Okay.
He saved our country. He won the war. And there's a statue of him. And a lot of people abuse that statue. And I'm starting to wonder whether you might be one of them.
No. I'm just interested in the facts. And yes, he was pretty racist throughout the entirety of his life. Yeah.
No, I don't like those kind of facts. I think they're unhelpful and they colour our great country and our great legacy. And it's frankly un-British.
Sure. So what about in 1954 when he said, "I hate people with slit eyes and pigtails. I don't like the look of them or the smell of them"?
Well, that doesn't sound good, does it?
I think that's he was probably making a little joke, wasn't he? Making a little joke. Like Boris Johnson, he made some funny jokes in his time, didn't he?
Okay, what about when he said that I don't admit, for instance, that a great wrong has been done to the Red Indians of America or the black people of Australia?
I just don't know why you hate our country.
It does sound a little bit... I tell you what, Adam, these are some very good points, but if you were to take on the early learning science section on the show, I'll probably have to give you a cheat sheet with some trigger words and areas to avoid.
Sure.
I think it could still go ahead, but
one of the things, Harriet, that we like to teach at universities. I'm a lecturer at a university.
What university is that?
University College London, UCL. One of the things we try to encourage our students to do is to be able to process complex ideas and recognize that people can have opinions that appear to conflict. So, for example, that Churchill was largely responsible for the British.
No.
And was also a racist at the same time.
No.
I would have thought that would be of interest to your readers or listeners.
No, they don't want. They're not interested in that. No, they don't want to hear that.
Right.
Yep.
So it's just they just want to feel good about British history.
Don't we all want to feel good about British history?
No. History is
the answer, Adam.
History is
good about British history.
Yeah. What about all the bad things that we did?
Sorry, what?
Things like how the British treated the Indians under the Raj. I mean, it's quite a lot of bad things that happened there, like indentured slavery and things like that.
Sorry, have you not seen the nice film where Judi Dench is the Queen and she's really nice to her Indian friend?
Yes, that is a fair point, yes. I like the one where she goes to that hotel in India and lots of nice brown boys serve them gin tonics and things.
I also like that one. That's wonderful. Maybe do some science about that.
Yeah, but see... I think in that scenario, though, you're Judi Dench and I'm one of the nice brown boys bringing you gin and tonics.
Oh, how wonderful. How lovely. Well, I mean, you're welcome to bring me a gin and tonic anytime you want.
Have you had one already today? Because it's 2:00.
I mean, not yet. Pop over anytime you want. Bring gin and tonic.
And
one
bring you a gin and tonic.
Well. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do I get to stay, or do I bring it and then leave?
You get to stay, and we'll talk about science, but the good kind.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Climate change? Should we do? I mean,
no, I don't
is that
do that?
No.
That's one of those topics that's best to just generally
just stick off it.
I think.
I mean, I sort of talked about it as a courtesy to you, and because COP20, whatever one we're on now, 23, 4, 5, 7. Oh, I mean, when, so many of them, isn't there? I just felt that we should really bring it up. Well, I think producer Martin booked you in because he was a fan of World War Z, but then turns out he didn't even do on that one.
Well, no, I'm also a fan of COP27. Just a quick one for our listeners. do you have to be familiar with COPs 1 through 26 in order to understand what's happening at COP27, or can we just jump in there?
I mean, I think maybe you're thinking about films too much, and that there is a narrative which the one is dependent on the previous one. It's more a sort of continuous conversation about how governments should try and deal with the ongoing desecration of the
not
climate.
as
More of
good
a sort
as
of
Fast and
the
Furious.
Furious. Oh, well, we're on the same wavelength.
That's the
there.
only film that me and Martin both like, isn't it?
It's the only thing that we can't have arguments during.
No.
So that's...
it's fun for all the family, those films.
And who do you imagine is the Jason Statham character or the Vin Diesel in COP27?
That's a very good question. It's
It's quite tricky, isn't it? Vin Diesel is a Trump.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't think he's invited these days.
Oh, dear.
I mean, Boris was there. I don't know who he'd... I mean, he's more of a...
We're going to have to
what about
Producer Martin.
I know. So it's Rishi Sunak wasn't going to go, and then he changed his mind and decided to appear because it looked like the franchise was, had a big boost. So he's more like one of those actors who was in The Rock. He came back because he's Dwayne Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on that wonderful note, Rishi Sunak is The Rock. Thank you so much, Adam, for joining us and sharing your little science theories.
Thanks, Harriet.
Well, that was the show. Please join us next week for some more non-censored. And they need to do things, don't they, Martin? They need to write a review.
They need to write a review.
Subscribe.
They need to press subscribe, and they need to give us 5 stars.
5 stars, please, no less and no more, because you can't. With thanks to Rosie, Holt, Brendan Murphy, Eshaan, Akbar, Jos Norris, Mark Davison, Ed Morrish, and special guest Adam Rutherford. Join us next week for some more Non-Censored.